Hi all, welcome back to Red Storm. This is going to move on to, this is Dark Blue Defection, and this is the third scenario in the set of 10, Morning Glory. Yeah, this is just the start of this. I set it up a couple of days ago. I've not had the chance to get started, but I was quite eager though when I set it up and read the sort of the lead up to it and what's all going on. It looks to be good fun. Not maybe an awful lot getting added. Well, some different aircraft coming along for sure, which is nice, and some ground units, and some sort of special instructions regarding how the scenario kind of works, I think, which is different from the actual main rules. I think. Well, I could be wrong with that. And I'm talking regarding, what is that task called? What is it? Fast FAC, which I'll maybe find out. Well, FAC is Forward Air Controller. So, Fast Forward Air Controller. Yeah, we'll find out what that does. Right, I'll talk about it in a minute. There are a few comments just to finish off. I had thought about bringing, just a closing part to scenario 2 because, unfortunately things didn't end smoothly as I'd hoped. Now, whether these errors had a major impact, I don't think they did, but they're pretty big errors that I made. I'm guessing they probably didn't have a major impact, but I suppose it is. I think nothing else would have happened, to be honest. I don't think anything would have happened. And the two major ones are, hang on, I've had to plug this in because it's running out of charge. Damn. Come here. Right. First of all, this comment's from John from part 15. He brought up the major blunder in part 14, but it's talked about here as well, so I'll just leave it to here. And I've added quite a few bits to the headers. I think I've got it all covered there, but obviously I like to talk about it as well. So first of all, and I know I'm talking about things that aren't actually on this map now, but for users that I've watched the previous scenario, I'll just try and go through it briefly, but the two major things that I missed, I need to talk about. One was, I done a small arms check on one of my flights that came out of a combat, it scattered and went down to deck level. And I wasn't sure about, because it talks about at the end of any movement phase, but John's brought it to my attention that the movement phase is when everyone is moving. It's in 3.2. Basically, the movement phase covers not just a specific flight's movement. It covers that flight's movement and its combat. Then it moves on to the next flight's movement and combat. That's right, isn't it? Movement phase. Flight center and exit. Where's role to determine initiative? You know what? You move all the units. And then at the end of that phase, flights at deck altitude on the enemy side of the front are subject to automatic small arms. So the flight that we had scattered and landed at deck hadn't actually had its movement yet. So I should have been able to then move that, climb it back to low altitude. Now, I think I maybe done that, so I wouldn't have needed that check. We didn't suffer from that check anyway. But that's what John says. I usually make the check as soon as I end a flight's movement in such a state, which I kind of think was what I was doing. However, I think it was with that combat, it kind of threw me. But if you think about it, that unit still hadn't moved yet, so it was entitled to its movement as well. Now, if I ended up with a deck after its movement, then fair enough, I take the check. Okay, so that was that one. Yeah, just jumping back to his last point here was, when I override the bot rules and we was moving towards his orbit point, the instructions in the bot rules are to first to set combat or dash throttle whatever one you're wanting to use to get you to the orbit point, and then climb one altitude band. Well, if I'd climbed that one altitude band, I would not have reached the orbit point on the map. So I choose to override that and just move it without climbing, just to get to the orbit point, which seems to kind of make sense. John comes back saying, I normally play the bot rules as written, but I think not climbing that turn so it can get adjacent to the orbit point makes a lot of sense. So I'm kind of stuck here with things a bit. I'm seeing that John likes to play by the bot rules, and you know what? It surprises me that I'm trying to override them, because that's not in me. I don't want to change the AI's rules. So I'm not sure how to go on with this, because I can't. Well, I don't know. I do a mix and match and think that, okay, that makes more sense. I mean, even John admits it makes sense there, but would you have done that, John? You're saying it makes sense, but you know, the time before when I talked about it, it was about which flight to go for, as we were randomising things. So I was considering overriding that one, but in fact, did I not? No, did I? I can't remember. No, I did. I did. I stuck with the die roll, but I think I was questioning what if this had happened? Would you override it? So I'm not sure how I'm going to plod on with that. Because I don't like to change the rules. I've played a lot of these. Like I say, Mr. Butterfield's games are much more in-depth AI, and I think this is why I'm swayed towards altering this, because this is a pretty simple AI. And you just kind of think you could nick in there and sort of say, well, that, would you it's wrong to say, would you do that yourself? Because you could say that about any game. And I'm not one to play two-player games two-handed. I can't do that. I can't play a two-player game solo. I just can't do that. I've tried it, and I really struggle with it. I had limited success with one game, but I need some instruction, and that's why I've enjoyed Mr. Butterfield's AI designs, because they're so detailed, and there's nothing. I mean, questions do arise, but a lot of things you might think are stupid moves as well, but you're meant to just let them go, and just it's the suboptimal moves. But I think within this game there's not enough detailed into it so it kind of makes me want to. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. We'll just I'm sure it's going to crop up as we move on, but we'll see. I don't know what any other thoughts are out there on that. Do I stick religiously to the rules, or Howard himself? Yeah, Howard made a comment on that, saying that he would only override if it was a completely stupid decision that the bot was making. I'm not sure if that classes as a stupid decision. To me it does. Why? It didn't need to climb an altitude band. It wasn't going to reach the orbit point if it did. So why not stay at that altitude and reach the orbit point, get the die roll that turn, maybe get out of disorder, then next turn maybe be able to join the fight again. Whereas the way the bot was wanting me to do it, I was taking 2 turns to be able to have to do that. So you can see there where I'm kind of stuck with what I should do. But anyway, okay. So, and then 3 things. 3 major points. Well, let's get this one dealt with first. Okay, and now tables and charts might not be coming out as much in this next scenario as well. There's a bit more space issues, and I'll show you why in a minute. So yeah, the first point, I'm surprised. I can only assume this was mentioned to me in the first scenario. I think this was a point that Howard had made. He says, I'll know, I'll not tell you, but you'll come across this. And I think this is what he might have been meaning, but I was still unaware of this. So whether it got spelled out to me in the first scenario or not, I don't know. And it's regarding rally points, orbit points, right? Orbit points are where you can head to remove your to roll to. No, sorry, it's a rally point. Rally point, you get this +8. It tells you there, flights within 1 hex of a rally point receive a +8 modifier for disordered recovery rolls. Okay. Orbit points count as rally points. It tells you down the bottom whether you can catch that or not. So I think, because we've only had orbit points on the map, we've had orbit points, we've had friendly airfields, which is relevant when in a sec. We've not had any rally points. It looks like we're getting one in this scenario, but we've not had rally points. So I've maybe not read this bit, which is silly. So I've read this bit because we've got orbit points, and it tells us that orbit points are also considered rally points for the purpose of recovery rolls. Good, we've got orbit points on the map. Now, in the bot rules, it tells you that if a bot flight is where's the card? It will be hiding. Where the if a disordered flight climb one altitude band and move as close as possible to nearest orbit/rally point or friendly airfield. So I'm scratching my head, and we're looking up there, and I won't go up the map because it's different now. And there was a friendly airfield closer than what there was the orbit point, but was totally oblivious to the fact that I thought, right, I'm going to have to land my flight, and I worked out that it takes 10 turns, and I thought, well, that's silly, let's not do that. Well, if all I had done, and John Brown brings this up, I think he brought it up in part 14 as well, he's mentioned it again in part 15. Orbit points and friendly airfields all count as rally points. He says, while landing at an airfield would remove the disordered state, the bot instructions just want to get adjacent to any of the mentioned places so the flight can get the +8 modifier. Of course it wants to do that. And I was wondering, and I was looking, and I was looking over, airfields is just here, I was looking through here for it, and it tells you here, and I just clearly didn't read all this bit properly. It tells you that, here we are, rally points may be plotted in any hex containing urban terrain or part of a river. Right, that's when you're plotting them. We've got them on the map. Additionally, all friendly open airfields may be used as rally points. So it tells you there that the friendly airfields, it tells you down there that the orbit points count as rally points as well. Whether that could all been bundled together to make it somewhere that, yeah, I don't know. I'm probably trying to dig myself out a hole there. So there you go. And that also links up with the fact that the bot's going to target the nearest, when it's in disorder, it's going to find the nearest friendly airfield or the nearest rally point or orbit point. And it's going to go there, get adjacent to it, and then in the admin phase, it's going to get that +8 modifier. And that's what we're trying to do. So, yeah, so I blundered my way through all that a bit as well. Whether that would add a major effect, well, I don't know. I've been doing that all for the last for the two scenarios, but it's, yeah, I don't know. You know what? I know now. Hopefully I won't forget. Right, on to the two bigger mistakes then. Okay, and both these happen in the post-combat procedures. Nah, I wasn't looking at this. I was looking at this while I was going through things. But you can see post-combat happens after scatter, I think. Does it? Or is that? No, it's part of it, isn't it? So you've got morale check, scatter, then place manoeuvre markers. So it starts from F there. But you'll see in H there, it says marker/detection, place manoeuvre markers. And I mean, I've read that. But I don't know. I've kind of thought that a manoeuvre marker meant that it came from the actual combat that said you place a manoeuvre marker. I can only assume that's how I thought about it. But that's not what happens. Whenever you're in an air-to-air combat, both flights get a manoeuvre marker. Yeah, I totally missed this. Now, I did it in the very first scenario as well. I do remember we getting manoeuvre markers on them. I'm pretty sure I did. When we went to standard air-to-air combat. But these manoeuvre markers, if you'll see 6.35, well, I won't jump back to it. It costs, when you start your movement with one of the markers on it, it costs you half your movement points. In fact, it should show on the bot table there, I would think, as well, wouldn't it? Manoeuvre marker. Combat throttle, yeah. Spend half movement points to remove the manoeuvre marker. So you can see, obviously, if I've got a speed of 4, then that's cut right to 2. I lose that 2. I lose 2 movement points to remove that marker to start. And this happens after every air-to-air combat. It tells you there, following damage allocation in any standard air-to-air combat, regardless of results, attacking defending flights perform the following actions in order. So totally missed that. And then the other one that was missed, which I actually spotted this myself when I was watching back, and it's number 6 there, that both flights become undetected. And I've done both of these in Scenario 1. I do recall getting that right in Scenario 1. Well, I think, anyway. I don't think I was prompted into it, anyway. However, John did pick up on, and then it was also mentioned to me afterwards about, Howard mentioned it as well, about, I had realised by then that I hadn't undetected the flights as well. So 2 kind of huge ones there that would have affected how things finished. I'm not so sure it would have affected total outcome regarding victory points and whatever, but yeah, not a good way to finish, to be honest. So Tate Zeller should have manoeuvre markers, which would take half the movement points, rounded up to remove. And also, well, I picked this one up. As he said, neither Saint nor Zeller should check for disordered recovery this turn. They were both involved in air-to-air combat this turn. I did pick that one up. I think it was Saint I tried to roll on, didn't I? Because he needed a 20. I think Zeller couldn't even roll. But I did roll for Saint, and I mentioned that. I'm sure I mentioned that in the header, that I shouldn't have made that roll, because that the air-to-air had only happened that turn. Easy one to miss that, I think, as well. So yeah, that's kind of it. So it was a bit of a shame to finish on the two or three sort of blunders. Yeah, and I made a final couple of comments in the header of part 16 just before I put it together. I noticed I made a move, which I'm going to have to watch with that. I made what I thought was a 120-degree move in a hex, and actually it was 150. I'm just going to have to watch. Sometimes I'm missing the spine, and I'm like going 30, which it's not. It's 30 on the spine, then 60 onto that, and then it's 90, and then I missed one there as well. I don't think it would have mattered. It was me turning my face in to make the air-to-air attack, and I think I was still facing him. Another one was, again, pointing out that the second attack, I forgot about manoeuvre markers again, and undetecting the flights. So a bit of a shame to end with that, but it was still good. I don't think then. I don't feel like it could have changed the result of the actual battle. I still feel like we had a victory there. Not that it matters to moving on. Like I say, these are individual. Although you kind of feel like you want to move on, but this isn't a campaign. These are only individual scenarios. However, I think I was glancing at things. Am I right in saying that the very last scenario is actually a campaign? It'll be number 10. 9 is Heavy Rain. Well, NSC10 Showdown, it says. No, maybe not. I'm sure it's. I read it somewhere as a. Well, mind you, I suppose looking at the log sheets, it does say solo scenario campaign. So they do link on to each other. But I don't think there was anything to say that if you fail this mission, you can't move on to the next mission. I've not read anything regarding that. But we did, yeah, okay. So this is scenario 3. Now, I had to mess on the map again. So this is where I'm lacking in space. You'll see that over that side, I've only got half, 2/3 of the map open there. And that's the full, is that the full part of the map? No, that's not. Sorry, that's half of that map. And that is 2/3 of the map. No, 3/4 of the map, sorry. We're just missing this part. Because there's another fold here to take it out. But you can see if I have to open that whole map out, there's where my table ends. So I will be able to fit it on the table, but yeah. I think, is the other table not the one that's slightly wider? I think it is. I don't know if I would need. So I've had to open up to 3/4 here, but it's worked out okay-ish, because there's the area. In fact, I almost didn't need this map at all, and I possibly could have wangled my way out and not using it, because these are just on the edge of this map. There's the join. The join is just there, as you can see. Well, you can see where the join is regarding there. So the flights are just over the other side by 1 hex, which is a bit of a shame, because then I wouldn't have needed that map at all. So a bit bigger area, So this is NSC3 Morning Glory. Yeah, gonna be much trickier to get things in here without making a mess and bumping into things. But NSC3 Morning Glory. Here's the mission briefing here. If I can quite get it all in, just about. Although the suppression of air defences around the town of Bad Hersfeld on the 19th of May was a success, Warsaw Pact ground forces took the town with overwhelming force by late evening the same day. On the morning of 20th of May 1987, NATO ground forces are to launch a counter-attack to take back the town. NATO air forces have a short window of opportunity to provide CAS, close air support, isn't it, to ground troops ahead of the attack before enemy SAM replacements arrive in the area. 2 flights of USA-10A Thunderbolts are tasked with attacking enemy mech and armoured divisions around Bad Hersfeld. A flight of UK Tornado GR1s will provide fast FAC. And what did I say that was? Forward air controller or something like that. US F4E Phantoms are tasked with CAP. I'm not sure if you're getting the rest of this down the bottom. I'll read it out. Intercepted. Yeah, it's quite interesting in this. But intercepted enemy transmissions suggest enemy fighter aces Nikolai Krasnov and Nikita Reshkalov may be in the area of operations. Excuse me. Their squadron of Su-27S flankers are responsible for 24 NATO kills on the opening day of the offensive, with Nikolai claiming 8 kills and Nikita 5. If you're engaged, take them down. So there's 2 aces up there that we're up against as well. So okay, so that's the briefing. Yeah, I should have put it over the other side here. They have more space. Oh, I'm laying it over the flight log stuff here, but yeah, there's a bit more space here, so might be able to chuck things up here, because it shouldn't be anything. So the only thing is, I mark them off with pen, and I've noticed when I lay things over it can rub it off a bit. So there we are, time of day 20th of May 1987. Do not roll in the weather table. Now, so we've got, it might be a bit bright up there. The whole map is in play. Marks the front. Now these are relevant now that we've found out that it's only open airfields that provide a rally point. We've got oh, excuse me. All right, try again. We've got 3 closed airfields, so I'll need to remember them. And what a good idea with that would maybe be to mark them. Do I not have red cubes somewhere? I thought I had red cubes. I'll put them away. I don't see them. There's 3 airfields anyway that I'm gonna have to remember aren't open. If we might need to use them, and there it's showing the air units. So 1 flight of 4 F4Es doing a CAT mission, aggressive value +2, set up undetected heading northeast, adjacent to NATO orbit 1 at low altitude. UK, there's a flight of 1. It's 1 flight of 2 aircraft, 2 Tornado GR1s, fast FAC. We'll get to that in a minute. Aggressive value +1, set up undetected heading northeast, adjacent to NATO orbit point 1. And then US 2 flights of 4 aircraft, A-10A bombing. So there's 2 different flights of these. And their bombing mission, aggression value +1, set up undetected heading northeast to NATO orbit point 2 at deck altitude. And then it shows you the orbit points. Ground setups. We've got the US 3rd Army Division, which is comprises of 1 times mech division, 1 times armored division, and the FRG, that's the West Germans, isn't it? 5th Panzer Division, 2 times mech. It says there, NATO ground forces have no function in this scenario and are there for immersion only. They may be omitted if you wish, but I'm going to leave them out there. They're not getting in the way. It looks good. So, yeah, but they're not really, there's not any, they're not going to do anything. They're not getting targeted. They're not shooting at anything or whatever. So, NATO pilot quality regular Tornado GR1 and the A10A, and we've got veterans for the F4E. Warsaw Pact, so 4 undetected generic Warsaw Pact flights, ABCD, 1 hex of Warsaw Pact orbit point heading southwest at high altitude. Generic flights ABCD follow flight plan A within 1 hex until activated. Once activated, follow Pact 5 for both flight instructions. Shows the flight plan there, shows what they're all for. You can see it's either going to be an Su-27S or a MiG-23M. So Su-27S is a cap mission, aggression value +3, okay, because these guys are elite veteran, they're veterans, aren't they, the two aces. Place counters on scenario setup sheet for when activated, and then and a flight of 2, and the 2 Su-27s, one of them's got, what's his name, Nikolai, and one of them's got Nikita, or whatever their names were. And then you've got a flight, USSR, 2 aircraft, MiG-23Ms, cap, aggression value +0. Rally point, and then shows you the ground units. So they've got a division, 79th GT division, a mech, and then 1 times armour. And then 27 guards, MRD, 2 times armour. So 1, 2, 3, 4, haven't they? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. They've got 3 armoured units and 1 mech unit. Ground units do not have organic mobile AAA. But we'll find out what they do. I'm guessing you probably get small arms fire in their hexes, but we'll look into that as we get there. However, they've got air defence as well. They've got 2 times 2K22s, and there's mobile AAs, so that's a new thing as well for us. So setup located with radars turned on, and then it shows you pilot quality, ace for Su-27. Sorry, I said veteran, didn't I? Ace for Su-27S, regular for MiG-23M. Right, and then special scenario rules. Well, these are all the same. The first one, we follow the rules in Pact 5. When activating, there's a maximum of 2 dummies. So we've got 4 generic flights. 2 of them are going to be dummies. One's going to be an Su-27, one's going to be a MiG-23M. And so once we get to activating them, we'll roll on that. That's the bit that we were a bit confused about. We know now, just basically you follow. You don't go to the non-combat actions. I don't think you ever go there within these whole scenarios. I could be wrong. When we move further on, it might. That's what we're going to be using while they're generic. We're going to be using clean movement profile for the MiG-23M at combat thrall. If bot flight reaches waypoint 5, turn around and head back to waypoint 1, repeat until the mission ends. And then there's the usual, if there's a detected enemy flight in the same hex or within 7 hexes, go to engagement actions. Okay, that one's the same as well. If a bot flight is activated away from its flight plan and no detected enemy flights are within 7, use combat throttle, move to medium altitude, do not zoom climb, and return to flight plan closest waypoint. Okay, so, and then these are sort of new instructions that kind of tell us a bit more. So NATO bombing flights do not follow a flight path in this scenario. Instead, each bombing flight may move so it can attack any identified Warsaw Pact armour or mech division. Each flight may make as many bombing runs as desired on Warsaw Pact mech and armour units, but no other Warsaw Pact ground targets may be attacked. Bombing flights must abort after all air-to-ground ordnance is expended. So we've got 2 bombing flights. and we've got 4 targets. Okay? So then it carries on. NATO bombing flights may only conduct air-to-ground attack on Warsaw Pact armour or mech divisions that have been identified by a NATO fast-fact flight. All Warsaw Pact armour and mech divisions begin unidentified. So I was wondering how we mark them as... Well, to be honest, I didn't look for... I didn't look for counters, actually. Now, I'm not sure if this is something that's unique to Dark Blue Defection, this identifying process, or if it's something that's in the main game or not. So somebody might be able to tell us that. I don't know. I feel like I might have came across a counter with unidentified or identified. Maybe there is something there. I'll have a closer look when I get a chance. But if not, to be honest, the units, they've got 2 sides to them. 6028. Where are we here? Where are we? Down here, kind of. They've got 2 sides there. There's an arm unit there. Now, this side is meant to suggest that they've got, organic mobile AAA maybe. This is the wee white circle. But what I'll just do with them is, that'll be unless I do come across counters, that'll be them unidentified. And we know they've not got that organic mobile AA, but I'll just turn it over and say that that's now identified. That's what I thought I would do. So, and again, like I say, that fast fact, I don't know if that's something identifying the flights, I don't know. So they all begin unidentified. So we've got to get these fast fact flights to identify these before we can attack them. During each SAM location phase, a non-disordered fast fact flight may attempt to identify 2 Warsaw Pact units in the flight's forward or beam arcs. The attempt requires the flight to be within 2 hexes, deck or low altitude, and have a line of sight to the unit. So that's what we're going to be trying to do first before our bombers can do anything to these armoured, these ground units. So then we'd roll 1d10, identification succeeds on a roll of 4 or more. Once identified, the Warsaw Pact unit remains identified for the remainder of the scenario. Fast fact flights are immune from aborts due to solo random events. So, okay, that's just an instruction, just stopping that from happening. So then, number 11, Nikolai Krasnov is flying an Su-27S designated as Rostov. Number 1, Nikita Rekalov is flying an Su-27S designated as Rostov number 2. So they're both in the Rostov flight. Nikolai's in aircraft 1 and Nikita's in aircraft 2. If either aircraft is shot down, the pilot automatically bails out and is recovered by Warsaw Pact forces at the end of the scenario on either side of the front. So my guess is we don't roll for bailout. He's not got a chance of getting shot down, or like the pilot getting killed. So he just automatically bails out and is recovered. So okay. And then some events to ignore, and then the scenario ends at the end of turn 14. So my D12's useless now. I'll need to find the bigger dice. Well, I suppose I can just use the D12 and we'll add 2 when we get to there, if we get to there. And then there's the victory conditions. Sorry, I might not have been showing you that, Matt. There we go, at the end of turn 14. Victory conditions. So we get 2 points for slight damage on an armor mech unit, 4 points for heavily damaged on an armor mech unit, 8 points if it totally destroyed, 2 NATO victory points for shooting down a Warsaw Pact aircraft, shot down or crashed. Now they would get 4 points if any ours are shot down or crashed. And then we've still not came across this result, but if any aircraft recover crippled, there's 2 points. Any enemy aircraft recovers damage, they get a point. Enemy crew member killed or captured, well, remember that's not going to apply to the 2 aces. So However, this will apply to the two aces. So you get 5 points for shooting down Nikolai Krasnov and 4 points for Nikita Rekalov. And then we add the points, subtract the Warsaw Pact points. And so that's actually similar numbers to what we had the last time. So there we go. So I thought this has sounded really cool, like. So the green cubes, now it kind of crosses over here. This is their first waypoint. That's the second one. The third one comes down there. That's the fourth one. And that's the final one. Maybe I should mark that one. Just sort of a dark green cube, just to say that's the final one. So it's going that way, there, and then it would just double back if it happens to. They're all up there. Remember, 2 of them are dummies, and 2 of them are these two. SU-27S flanker and the MiG-23M flogger. Both got IRST. I'm noticing both multi-role. I don't think that comes in it. No doctrine. Okay, don't check doctrine with that. And they've got night capabilities, which doesn't seem relevant. And then, so our guys are starting down here. Now you can see that's it's kind of in the middle. This is where we're going. These are the NATO ground forces, which are just there to make things look nice. And these are our 4 that and that are our 4 ground targets, which need to be identified and then destroyed, hopefully. These are the 2 2K22s, which I'm going to have to look up the rules for that. You can see the front down there, and it comes further down. It shows you the markers for further down, but my guess is I'm going further up, but you can see where the line is. Now they've obviously got an orbit point way over there. This is a rally point here. Now when it just says rally, well, I'm assuming it's over their side of the front, so it must be their rally point. I'm assuming that must be the case. This isn't a rally point we could use, I don't think. I think when it's on that side of the front. So, and then we've got our 2 orbit points here. We've not got any rally points. Now the airfields that were closed were Fritzlar, Fulda and Wildflecken. So Fulda's here. I'll get a wee red cube to mark these, I think. Mind you, they might just get in the way. So we've got Fulda there, Wildflecken there, and Fritzlar's there. So they are kind of like airfields that you might consider trying to, now that we know we can use these as rally points. I'm going to have to remember that they're not an option. So, and then looking at our flights, we're all undetected. We have we have Chevy, which is our F4E here. That's the F4E Phantom. And then we've got Lion, which is a Tornado GR1 here. So the British, the UK flight. And then Cylon, quite sure how you pronounce that, is one of the A10A Thunderbolts, and Lizard is the other one. So they're both there. So you can see, 3 different aircraft. In fact, they're all new aircraft to us, aren't they? We've not seen any of these at all, so that should be good fun. He's got terrain following radar. The F4 Phantom's got multi-role. We've got defensive wheel on this, which I'm not sure. No zoom, don't know what that's about. I'm not sure what all that is. So there's a lot to look at regarding the aircraft, I guess. So there we are. So it looks quite cool. And the fact we've got this, it's not just a case of like in bombing, we've got to send that the fast fact flight, the Tornadoes, in first to try and get these spotted. And then move in our bombers, and obviously they're going to be coming at us to disrupt the party. Right, okay. I know that's 40 minutes and nothing really happened. I'm going to have to take a pause for now. I need to get these dogs out and about. Just wonder if I should cut this and just make it as a sort of starting part. I think I might just do that actually, so I'll just add to the header that it's just the introduction of the scenario, with no real gameplay and some discussions about it and whatever. Yeah, I think I'll do that. It's something that can get put out there. It is 40 minutes. And then I can come back after the dogs are out and hopefully get a little bit of gameplay. Although, yeah, I'm starting to think there's probably some rules I need to brush up on and look up on and find out about. I mean, we've not done this bombing stuff yet, and yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't want to blunder myself in like I kind of did with scenario 2. But I do want to get in on the action though, that's the thing, so you're kind of caught with that. Do I sit with a real book open in front of me, or do I just press record and, well, as long as the mistakes are pointed out and hopefully I can fix them and at least make good of them and whatever, then that's fine. Right, okay, I'll just leave it at that just now, and I'll be back with the second part shortly. Okay, cheers.